the most respected members of Rotary and Inner Wheel, visible and invisible on my screen, my most beloved uncle, the charismatic and ever-smiling Rotarian, Sri G.D. Gopalakrishnan, and my very good friend, Maheshwar, who introduced me. A very good evening to all of you. We are living in times where first thing in the morning, switch on the TV, a neatly dressed news anchor with a broad smile wishes you a good morning, and for the next 1 hour gives you countless reasons as to why it is not a good morning. In times like this, even our day-to-day life has become a stormy one. So this evening, I'm going to share with you three moves with which you can ace your dance through the storms. The first move is a very profound and fascinating concept in psychology called flow, which was popularized by the Hungarian-American psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. So psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi says, regardless of what happens on the outside, a person will either be happy or miserable based on the contents of our consciousness. In the sense, if there is order in our consciousness, we will be happy even when all the odds are against us. On the contrary, if there is a disorder in our consciousness, even if everything outside is in our favor, we will be feeling miserable. It is this order of consciousness which the seekers from all religions aspire to attain by various means like meditation, mindfulness, prayer, and so on, because order in consciousness equals happiness. Now, Csikszentmihalyi says one of the best ways to attain an order in consciousness is to experience what he calls a state of flow. A state of flow is one where you are fully involved in an activity in front of you, so involved that nothing else other than that activity matters to you at that moment. You lose track of time, you lose sense of identity. Your 100% attention is focused on the activity, that there is no attention remaining for you to think about irrelevant information, negative stuff, your worries or anxieties, and so on. Csikszentmihalyi says all of us can experience this state of flow if we have two things. One, the ability to focus, and two, your activity should be such that the challenge in the activity is always slightly over your skills. If the challenge in the activity is far beyond your skills, you will experience anxiety. And if the challenge in the activity is far below your skills, you will experience boredom. Now, that is why you will never be able to experience flow in a game of tennis when you play either with a 5-year-old kid or if you play against Roger Federer or Serena Williams. So the challenge in the activity should always be slightly above your skills. Now, remember, I said this was a concept popularized by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. This is because this is not a concept he founded. This is a concept which has existed for ages. In an ancient tribe in the British Columbia had this interesting habit of migrating every once in 25 to 30 years to be able to experience flow. Now, moving to a new place meant finding new abodes, finding new water bodies, food sources, safety arrangements, pastures for their livestock, and so on. So this brought in challenge into their lives, and this helped them experience flow. On the other side of the world, in Japan, there is a temple, a very old temple called the Grand Shrine of Ice, which is demolished and rebuilt every once in 20 years. Imagine that mighty temple, they demolish it and rebuild it, demolish it and rebuild it. By 1973, that temple had been demolished and rebuilt over 60 times. Now they have turned this into a ritual because they intuitively understood that to feel alive, they needed some challenge in life. And demolishing this mighty temple and rebuilding it within the stipulated time brought in this element of challenge into their lives. Now, I'm not asking you to go and demolish your friend's house tomorrow and tell him, I am gifting you an opportunity for flow, nor am I asking you to migrate every once in 25, 30 years. The author himself says, we can bring this flow into our everyday activities by introducing tiny challenges into them. Tonight, when you go and brush, if you go and brush, try brushing with your non-dominant hand. And you will notice that even a mundane task like brushing will help you experience flow. Now, in everything you do, be it walking or washing a car or driving, try introducing an element of challenge and you will notice that you will experience a state of flow. So flow equals happiness. Look for creative ways to introduce challenge into your lives so that there is flow in your lives. So that is the first move I wanted to share with you today. And the second move to dance through the storms is a 3-step move called simplicity of mind. The first step is simplicity of mind in evaluating yourself. When Dr. MGR was shot on the neck and admitted in the hospital, he struggled to speak because his vocal cords were damaged. He was struggling to communicate something, and his wife, Janaki Ammal, said, எதுக்காக இவ்வளோ கஷ்டப்படுறீங்க? உங்களுக்கு என்ன வேணுமோ அதை முக பாவனையில காட்டுங்க, நான் புரிஞ்சுக்கிறேன். MGR gestured for a piece of paper and a pen, which was duly given to him. And on the paper, he scribbled, எனக்கு என்ன வேணும்னு முக பாவனையிலேயே காட்டுறக்கு நான் என்ன சிவாஜி கணேசனா? Now look at what a simplicity of mind in evaluating himself, his strengths and his weaknesses. I strongly believe it is this simplicity in understanding himself that enabled him to stay in that peak of both the cine field and the field of politics. So that is the first step in the second move, simplicity of mind in evaluating yourself. Don't have complex ideas about yourself. Have a simple evaluation, understanding of who you are, what your strengths are, and what your weaknesses are. The second step is simplicity of mind in evaluating and understanding your loved ones. Now, there is another interesting anecdote to convey this. It is a legendary anecdote where Mahakavi Bharadiyar once went and hugged a tamed lion which was inside a cage because he said he couldn't resist the majesty of that lion. So he went and hugged the lion from outside the cage. On another corner was his wife Challammal, fervently praying with teary eyes. When someone nearby asked her, "Enama, unga veetukararukku nalla buddhi kudukanunu kadavul kitta vendit irukinglaanu kettappo," she gave a response which was epic and profound. She said, "Illinga, என்னைக்குமே நடக்காததுக்கு நான் கடவுள் கிட்ட கேட்கறதே கிடையாது. அந்த சிங்கத்துக்கு நல்ல புத்தி கொடுன்னு வேண்டிட்டு இருக்கேன்" அப்படின்னாங்களா. So again, look at what profound understanding. Our husband, even God can't help. ஏதோ அந்த சிங்கத்துக்காவது நல்ல புத்தி கொடுத்தாருன்னா our husband will survive. Now, if we can have this simplicity of understanding about our loved ones around us, then I think you can easily dance through the relationship storms. And the third step is simplicity of mind in facing the challenges of life. When Dr. Kalam was the president of our country, the then president of Pakistan, Pervez Musharraf, was supposed to visit our president at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The meeting was scheduled for 20 minutes. Such high-profile meetings mostly do not overshoot time. Now, a few days before the meeting, The whole Rashtrapati Bhavan was in a state of anxiety and frenzy. They had their reasons because Parvez Musharraf was from a military background who knew the nook and corner of the Indo-Pak problem, whereas our president was a scientist president. Mr. Musharraf was sure to raise critical questions, and whatever Dr. Kalam answered would definitely make it to the headlines of newspapers and media worldwide. So his secretary, a senior IAS officer named P. Madhavan Nair, wanted to get Dr. Kalam totally prepared for this meeting. So he walked into Dr. Kalam's room with a bunch of experts saying, "Sir, we need to prepare you for this high-profile meeting." And Dr. Kalam said with a very casual smile, "Don't worry, Mr. Nair, I have already prepared." Now, Mr. Nair said, "But sir, it is Musharraf who is coming. You are from a science background." Dr. Kalam again said with a firm tone, "Mr. Nair, don't you trust me? I say I am prepared." Now, Mr. Nair walked out of the room wondering what preparation he has done and what is going to happen to the reputation of our country. Now, the day of the meeting came. Parvez Musharraf came. They walked into the meeting hall. All the exchange of pleasantries happened. This "I love you, you love me too," and all that. A few minutes went off for that. Now, before Musharraf could begin speaking, Dr. Kalam jumped the gun and he told Musharraf, "Mr. Musharraf, there are many villages in Pakistan like there are in India. I have a scheme called PURA, providing urban resources for rural areas to improve the villages. Would you be interested in knowing about that?" Now, when a host like Dr. Kalam asks this question, at least for courtesy's sake, all Musharraf could answer was, "Yes, sir, why not?" Dr. Kalam walked over, picked up a remote, pressed the button, a screen came down, and a video about the PURA started playing. That video went on and on and on for a good 15 minutes. And out of the scheduled time of 20 minutes, almost 17 to 18 minutes was over. Now, Mr. Musharraf had time to do only one thing. He stood up, shook hands with Dr. Kalam, and said, "Sir, India is very lucky to have a scientist president like you." And as he walked out of the Rashtrapati Bhavan, a huge group of the media were waiting to pounce on him. They asked, "Sir, what did you ask? What did Dr. Kalam say?" And Musharraf said with a mixed emotions, he said, "He showed us a nice video. You should see it too." And the media were stunned, not knowing if he's actually dodging or he's telling something that happened. Now imagine when the whole Rashtrapati Bhavan, a group of complex minds, were debating on what questions he would ask, what response should we give, and so on. There was one simple mind who thought, only if we allow him to ask a question, we will have to break our heads in trying to answer it. So do not allow him to ask questions and the problem solved. I think this is the beauty of a simple mind. And even here, amongst you people this evening, I witnessed the beauty of a very simple mind. My very own beloved uncle, who gave me this opportunity to speak this evening, called me, said, "Speak on this topic, speak well." And he also mentioned very clearly, "Do not forget to tell my fellow Rotarians that I am the source of all your knowledge. I am the backbone of your growth, and I am the sole reason for who you are today." Now imagine what a simple mind, not sitting there with a complex mind, seeing, will this guy talk about me this evening? Explicit instruction, speak about me. So I think I've ticked that box too. So if we can have simple mind like all these people, then we will become light enough to dance through the storms. So the first move is flow. The second move is simplicity of mind. And the third move is the wisdom in knowing, don't sweat the small stuff. It is all small stuff. In the mighty epic of Mahabharata, there was only one character that was happy throughout, Lord Krishna, because he was the only one who had the wisdom to understand that everything, literally everything, is small stuff. And it is this wisdom that enabled him to be happy even in a violent place like the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Now, such wisdom is not the prerogative of people like Krishna alone. All of us got a glimpse of it too a few months ago when the pandemic was at its worst, when thousands of people were dying every single day. All of us deep down realized that the only thing that mattered was to stay alive, be it ourselves or our loved ones. Everything else became small stuff. Our standing in the society, our pride, our net worth, everything paled in comparison to just one thing, the desire for ourselves and for our loved ones to be alive. But the problem with mortals like us is the minute the storm passes, we will forget this lesson and we will start sweating the small stuff again. However, there was one person who lived with this wisdom every single day of his life, someone called Diogenes. When the mighty emperor Alexander the Great, probably he's the man who sweated the most in the world, I think, when he was on a quest to conquer the world, he came across this mendicant named Diogenes who was lying down on the sand, gazing at the sun. Inspired by his calmness and composure, Alexander went and stood before him and said, "I am Emperor Alexander. Ask me what you want and I shall give you." That is when Diogenes spoke these famous words, "Move, you are blocking the sun." Alexander was amazed. Imagine when an emperor asks you, "What do you want?" This man says, "Move, you are blocking the sun." It is only someone with this profound wisdom that everything in life is small stuff that can say a statement like this. Alexander too had a glimpse of this wisdom, but like most people, he had it at the fag end of his life. That's when he said, "When I'm gone, bury me with my hands outside so that the world knows that the man who won the world left with nothing in his hands. Everything is small stuff." Now, people like Alexander can at the most raise a few storms, but it is only people like Diogenes that can dance through the storms. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, who are we going to be? Alexander or Diogenes? So I think I was given 20 minutes to share with you on how to dance through storms. So I hope I've danced through that storm and completed my talk in 20 minutes. Once again, with these three moves: flow, simplicity of mind, and this wisdom that everything is small stuff. Each one of us can dance through the storms like a pro. Happy dancing. Thank you all so much for this wonderful opportunity. Love you all.